Hi, this is Denise Mathew, and today I'm going to make these little cubic zirconia rings. I had these stones for a while, and I just found a project that will actually, I can actually make them into a ring. So they've got a lot of sparkle, almost like a diamond, so it's kind of fun to do. I've used a 5mm here and a 6mm here. And so what's happened is you wrap some coils around, so you're almost making like a setting without having to use prongs or fire or a torch or anything like that. It's a great little way to use up some zirconias, and you can use any color, any kind of stone really, any kind of a stone that's faceted like this. I think they have crystals that are like that. I think they have that in Swarovski or something like that as well. Now you could use the same setting thing and use it to make maybe an earring or something like that instead of a ring. You could use the same method to make a pendant. So I've made a pendant here. So what I did, instead of, and you'll see when you watch the tutorial, instead of making this into a ring, I actually made a loop on top and took the other side of the wire and just made it into a swirl in the back. So it sort of made the same kind of a setting as well. And then just put a jump ring on as well. So let's get started. I'm working with a 5mm stone today, and that's the first thing you want to do. You want to see how big your stone is. It's just a cubic zirconia. Turn it like this and then just measure it. And then when you know what your measurement is, then that's how big you want your circle to be. I'm also working with 20 gauge wire, about a foot of it. You can use more or less according to the size ring you're going to make. I'll probably make about a 6 or 7. Generally that's what I make. So you want to go to the center of the wire. So just take your round nose pliers. Be a little specific about the size of the circle in the center because it has to be to fit up with this zirconia. Okay, so just wrap your wire around your pliers, and that's a little big, so I'm just going to make it a little bit smaller. Just try and keep it circular. Now, if you want to, if you can measure on your pliers and you know exactly where the it's going to line up, so for instance 5mm, wherever 5mm are going to be on your plier, you can mark that spot and you can wrap it around that spot. So just keep those wires straight to the side and then just measure it, and it looks like it is about 5mm. So what you're going to do now is just make sure your circle's nice and round. I mean, just in case it came out of place. So now that I have that circle, I'm just going to take my zirconia and I'm just going to pop it in there just to see if it's sort of the right size. Now, of course, we're going to adjust this later on, but I just want to have a gauge. So if you notice, it's pretty much the right size. Okay. So now I'm going to take my wire and I'm just going to put it back on those pliers. And what's going to happen is I'm going to wrap around the pliers a few times, and that's going to make the circles a little smaller. So it's almost like a little bit of a cradle for the stone to be in. Okay, so just wrap it around and just try to make your coils kind of tight. Just maybe 2 or 3 times. Okay. And if it starts to slide up, just make sure it stays at that 5mm or whatever measurement you have for your zirconia. And then make sure that both wires are on either side of your coil. So that's what it would look like. So if you can see, it's sort of building there. And that's kind of like your setting, okay? So now you are going to turn it so that the loop is facing the top. Take your chain nose pliers, just very, very gently, because you don't want to mess these coils up. You're just going to take your pliers and just lift up that top loop. I'll show you what that looks like. So that's what you're doing. Okay? And what you're doing with that is you're giving some space so that you can slide that zirconia in. So put it in, okay, like that, and then just bring that loop right back down. Okay? And then this is what it would look like on the side. Now we're not quite finished with it yet, but we're going to adjust it and so forth, but it's giving you some stability so you have a little bit. So what I'm going to do is just gently push the wires down like that on the side. Just bring those a little bit down, and that's going to keep it in place. Now if you find that it's a bit too big on the bottom, you could always add an extra coil. here on the bottom. Just kind of wrap it around one more time, and just make it a little bit smaller. But it seems to be okay. The bottom seems to be okay, and the top seems to be okay. At this point, I'm just going to bring my wires to both sides of my setting, and then just bring it right down. And so this is what you would have, like that. And then just bring it right down so it's kind of centered. And so I want to lay the wire on top of the wire I've already laid. I don't want to have it in closer to the stone. I don't want it outside of the stone. I'm trying to keep this setting as straight as possible so that it does look like a proper setting. But I do want to have it sort of on the side so that when I do make a ring, it will be centered perfectly, and the ring will be, the stone will be in the center, and we can try and make the ring as straight as possible. So what I'm going to gently do is just kind of guide it right on top, if you notice, and then just when I get to the center, I'm just going to take my pliers and do some sort of like a 90-degree angle like that. Okay, so what that's doing is it's centering my wire so that when I wrap it on the mandrel, it's going to center my stone for the ring as well. And I'm just going to do the exact same thing on the other side. Okay, so just underneath. It's a little bit easier on the other underside because it's sort of hidden away. The top side is the one you really want to take time with. Okay, so I'm just going to do the exact same thing, just a little bit of a 90-degree angle. Okay, and then just straighten out those wires. And this is what we have so far. Okay. And if you notice, the wire is laying on top. It's not to the side and it's not around it. Okay, so that's what we have so far. Now, what you can do now is just make sure those wires are straight, and you'll notice that maybe one's a little bit longer than the other because you wrap more one side or the other. It doesn't really matter. You can always trim that back when you're making your ring. So now I'm just going to take my ring mandrel, and I'm just going to pick the size I want. So say I want to make a size 7 ring, I'm going to go to the size 6 because I can size it up later. Now, you have to remember that these wires, just keep in mind that these wires are still not very stable. They're holding that stone in place. So you don't want to do a lot of tugging. You want to be very gentle. In fact, it's best to hold on to that stone and then just kind of wrap your wire around. One's going to go on the top, like that, and then one's going to go on the bottom. Okay, like that. So this is what we have so far. Okay, and we've kept it in place. So just bring those wires right around, and if something starts to slide away, just take your pliers and gently just kind of push it in like that to make sure it's fine. Okay, so just right around, and we're not crossing, we're just having them all parallel, and I'll show you the back side in a second. So something like this, and then just, that's the back side. All right, now some people might like to wrap around this and make it a little bit more messy. If you want to keep it more like just a setting, then I would suggest just doing this kind of wrap and then going in and start to just go right around the base and bring those 3 in. So that's what I have so far. Now again, if things start to drift, just gently push the wires down because you want to keep them nice and tight. Keep that setting in place. And you can always go back and adjust it later on too, so not to worry. But right now, because this is still sort of not stable and you can pull it out of place easily, you want to be really careful. So now that I've got that, I'm just going to take my time, just hold it, and actually I've lost my size 6, so I'm just going to go back on there. Keep it at size 6, and then slide it off. Hold it in place. Now I'm going to hold this really firmly so that nothing moves, and then just start to, and these are a bit long, these wires are a bit long, but I like to have more wire than less. So I'm just going to trim it back a little bit, and I'm just going to start to wrap it right around those base wires. So just once. Now this is going to give us stability. Now don't tug too hard on it again, because again it's attached to this whole setting. So that's one. That'll stabilize one side. Okay, now I'm just going to go to the other side. I'm going to do the exact same thing. Now one side is on the top, and that one you're going to have to really push in against. The one on the bottom actually slides into place really easy. The one on the top, because it's going down so it gets to the base wires, is going to be something you're going to have to really bring in close. So when I mean close, I mean bring your wire in really close to your stone, like that. And you can use your pliers if you want, just to make sure. to try and get as close as possible, and then just go right around the base wires. If you notice it slid down again, that's all right. Just bring it back in. Bring it back in. Slide it really close to your stone. That way it'll make it more even. And all the while you have to keep in mind that you're not going to pull too much on that whole setting. Alright, so I'm just going to finish wrapping this one side, the one that's on the bottom, and again it's much easier to wrap this side because it's underneath and it actually just wraps easy. So probably about 2 or 3 wraps, whatever you want. I think I have enough for probably 3. And what you can do is just bring those in. Okay. Just continue on, and we have 3 wraps, so we're going to do 3 wraps on this side, and we will adjust it after I'm all wrapped. Bring it in a little bit closer. I'm just going to trim it back now. Make sure there's no sharp bits, and then just adjust your ring so that everything is straight. And bring that in a little bit closer, and then that would be your completed ring. So if you notice, the back side is all it's all secure in the back side and it's secure on the front side. If you wanted to size up your ring, you would just slide it back onto the ring mandrel, and then you would just use your hammer to size it up. So I sized it up to a size 7, and then that would be my completed ring. So this concludes the tutorial. I hope you liked it. If you did, please like, share, subscribe, and comment. We'll see you next time. Thanks for coming. Bye for now.